when you're playing like this, everybody has to put their ego at the door, and you have to say, hey, listen, whatever we need to do to get this thing back on track, that's exactly what we're going to do. And that, not only am I talking about players, I'm talking about coaches too.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Broncos X's and O's. I am sitting here with KOA's own Dave Logan, who just called his 601 first game. And wow.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say, Dave.
Yeah.
Wow. So my company bought a suite last night for the game, and we hosted about 25 people in there.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. The food was really good.
I was going to say the hors d'oeuvres.
The food was really good.
The ambiance, yeah.
Hospitality was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should be attending Broncos games right now in person, because the two games I've attended, they haven't done anything offensively.
So you were in London.
Yes. I've attended three games. 3 games.
So you've got the Jets.
Yep.
You've got the last game.
And then the Giants.
Well,
Giants.
You got the fourth quarter you can hang your hat on.
Yeah, the fourth. Right? Exactly. But we can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore, Dave. I don't know where to start. You know what? Let's start with the positive, because we're positive people. I'm a half glass full type of person. Defense, incredible last night.
Yep.
I thought played extremely well. Nik Bonitto, 9.5 sacks now. Defense, 6 sacks. I think they're continuing to play physical. Talanoa Hufanga is best safety in the league.
Love that guy.
I think he's best safety in the league right now.
Good tackler, good energy, positive, makes plays.
He might be the only person out there right now who will hurt you during the game and pray for you right after.
Right. I may have to let him rent my hands in terms of dropping interceptions, but other than that.
You still got good hands?
What you talking about? You must be out of your mind. Hey, I can't run anymore like I used to, but I can still catch the rock.
You can still catch the ball?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You?
Yeah, I still got hands.
Hey, one thing I have to. I know we have so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
But I was watching, I don't know, ESPN or something, Peyton's 2-point conversion to my friend Bennie Fowler in Super Bowl 50. What in the world dance was that?
Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Chicken? Oh, that wouldn't.
Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Against Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Then you know he put the hands up.
I know it didn't look anything like that.
Hey, Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Hey.
I wore all white that game, so I took the fine. So, Broncos, where we wore the all white uniforms, you're supposed to wear the blue socks. So
okay.
How
much does that fine?
It's $5,700. And I knew I was going to take it.
Man, you must be rolling in cash. Seriously, if you're going to donate
$5,700
to the league.
I mean,
I'm wearing blue socks because I'm just saying.
Well, I had the utmost.
What'd your wife say about that?
We weren't married yet, so
okay,
it's all good.
Okay.
But look, how many times do you know if you're going to play in the Super Bowl? Vaughn was like, hey, man, I'm wearing all white. I was like, I'm following you. He was Super Bowl MVP. So there we go. Back to this.
Making Super Bowl MVP money, too.
Yeah. He was still on his rookie deal. Well,
so you were making as much as Vaughn?
No. But we ended up winning the game, so I think we got $103,000 for it.
Gave half of it for socks. What the hell are you doing?
It's worth it. All the pictures I have and all the memories. Oh, man. Broncos defense, 6 sacks. Held Geno to 188 yards. Who was your player of the game defensively yesterday?
Wow. I think the game against the Raiders was a little bit of a microcosm of how they've played defense for most of the year, in that they just kind of take turns, it almost seems. Now, I mean, I'm being facetious, but it feels like one play, it's Zach Allen just crushing the inside of the pocket. The next play, Nik Bonitto dips and comes around the corner, and the tackle doesn't even hardly get a hand on him. Then Jonathan Cooper with a power rush and a rip, and then he's in on the action. Then you had Malcolm Roach with a sack last night. I thought John Franklin Myers, I called his name 3 or 4 times making plays inside. So I've never played defensive line, but my theory on that is in film study, when you look at a team, you got a pretty good idea, like, okay, we like this matchup, or we're playing a team that's like, man, we're going to have to be on top of our game. Once they figured out that the Raiders were going to have difficulty pass protecting at all, and they had difficulty going into the game as well, then it became what I call the sack frenzy. So, I mean, we named an MVP in the league after the game, and it was the defense.
Yeah. Everybody playing extremely well. Just the versatility that every player on the defense has. And this is now 2 games in a row where you don't have your best secondary defender, and it looks like the defense hasn't missed a beat. Now, the Raiders aren't necessarily as talented offensively
especially
as other
outside,
teams.
right?
Yeah, especially on the outside. But they do have an extreme matchup with a Brock Bowers, and he only had the one big catch on Jade for the 30 yards. But other than that, the secondary did a really good job of identifying where he was and taking him completely out of the game. This is a guy who had 13 catches the week before and 3 touchdowns, and you knew that this guy was going to come here and get targeted, and the Broncos were able to shut him down. I thought Vance did an incredible job. I think that everybody on the defense is bought into the game plan. And I heard Aqib Talib talking about, one of the most important things, and I think TJ talked about it on the show as well, is do they believe in the game plan? And right now, defensively, whatever Vance is calling, they are executing at a high level. They believe that it's going to work.
I think early in that game, you started to sense that Geno Smith was taking his eyes off the receivers downfield. His eyes would drop on that pass rush. And as soon as a quarterback does that at any level, then I think defensively, we got him. So, I mean, there were times in the pocket where Geno Smith would hit the right foot, put that right foot in the ground, either gather or deliver the football, and his eyes would drop to see who was coming. So, yeah, just really good effort. Again, the Raiders are challenged outside, but the issue for Brock Bowers, I was interested that they really didn't throw the ball to him too much, right? As you said, 12 or 13 catches the week before, 1 catch last night.
Vance, confusing Geno, pass rush getting there. I'm looking at the playoff standings right now. The Broncos are number 1 in the AFC right now, sitting at 8 wins. Obviously, they've played one more game than a couple of other teams on here. This defense is obviously championship caliber. Let's look at some of the matchups that they would have to play just of these teams remaining right now. Indianapolis, I think they could pretty much handle. Jonathan Taylor continues to present a challenge. You got some players on the outside, but you played them okay. You got New England. Drake May's young. I don't think they have anybody that scares you over there. They got some good young talent. Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, not mobile. He's not what he used to be, but savvy veteran.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily scare you. Buffalo, 17, and Cook, they worry you. They can worry you, those types of guys. Chargers, I think that's a tough battle. You're gonna face them one more time. That's going to be a telling series, but they've lost 2 of their key offensive linemen, which is a feeding frenzy for our defensive line. Jacksonville, jury's still out, and then Kansas City sitting at the 8th seed. Does any one of those teams right there scare you in terms of what they can do offensively to this Broncos defense?
Well, there's a difference between being scared and I think being concerned. I think Buffalo is a team that's a hard matchup for anybody, including this Broncos defense, because the wild card with the Bills is Josh Allen's ability to extend plays and run, right? And so your pass rush at times can be a little bit deep, and he's going to step up, and on 3rd down and 10, you've got guys covered, and then he runs for 15 and a first down. Cook, I think, is an underrated back. I think he's one of the best backs we have in our league. So, I mean, all those teams you mentioned, I think, have things they really do well. I mean, Kansas City, in 10 days, the Chiefs come to town to face the Broncos, and I think for Kansas City, that will be a game. They have a bye weekend coming up, so they'll have 2 weeks to prepare for Denver. That's the Waterloo game for Kansas City. If I'm Andy Reid, I mean, I don't know if you want to say this to your team or not, but I think you're going to convey the message, hey, listen, we go in, we're 5-4, they're 8-2. You don't have to be the smartest mathematician to know if the Chiefs lose, they're 5-5 and the Broncos are 9-2. That's a full 3-game lead in the loss column. That is, if you're Kansas City and that happens, that is a real problem. So the Broncos are going to get the absolute best the Chiefs have left in that game at Empower Field.
They are going to get the best out of the Kansas City Chiefs. But when I think about this Indianapolis team, the Broncos defense, it travels there. If you got to go play there, this defense can travel
The guy
there.
that worries me with Indianapolis is Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Jones has had a good year, except the last game when he had 6 turnovers. But, I mean, he played really well against the Broncos in the first game. Mm-hmm. But the home run guy with the Colts is Jonathan Taylor. And how do you scheme against that running game, and how much do you have to commit Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga from the safety spot? And when you do, I mean, it's just a numbers game for offenses. When you start bringing safeties down, offenses know they have one-on-one outside, mm-hmm. and that's the easiest and most efficient way to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big matchup if it happens.
If they got to go to New England, I think the defense travels.
I do too.
Yeah, they got to go to Pittsburgh. And I just think that one of the best things about this defense is that they have won and they have been carrying this offense regardless of however the offense performs. They are playing up to their standard. Do you think this is sustainable in terms of holding teams to 7 points?
Come on, bro. What are you asking me that for? No, I do not. No, I do not. Are we digging into the Broncos offense?
Not yet. I want to know how sustainable is their level of play? Maybe not the 7
defense?
points. Yeah, the level of play.
No. I think the defense. I mean, listen, and I've said it so many times before. I think really good defensive teams, great defensive teams. I mean, they play to a certain level every single week. Now, you might not get the number of turnovers one week that you get the next week, but the great defensive teams throughout the course of history in our league have all been teams that could stop the run and were good tacklers. Mm-hmm. They had different levels of ability in the back end, but you go back and look at go back and look at the 77 Broncos. Go back and look at the 4 Super Bowl champions in the 70s that the Steelers had. 4 Super Bowl championships in 6 years. Go back and look at the 85 Bears. Go back and look at the 15 Broncos. All different styles of defense, schematically different. But if you look to see, those teams were good against the run, and they were good tackling teams. And I think the Broncos have exhibited both of those things in the first 10 games of this season.
Last thing on the defense, should we move DeAndre Tillman to tight end, or should we put him in the return game? Because his return skills after these interceptions have been he's had to have played some offense in his life.
Oh, I guarantee he was a tight end in high school. Guarantee, maybe a fullback.
And he had to play some basketball because his run after interception ability is top tier.
That was a big play. His second interception of the season. I mean, no other Bronco defender has more than one. So if you just said at the 10-game mark, hey, who's going to lead the team in interceptions? I mean, you'd have got a pretty good number on DeAndre Tillman, because I don't think anybody expected it to be him. Both his interceptions have been, as you said, with significant return yardage.
Yes.
So good on him.
Good on him. Let's go to the offense right now. Bo Nix, 150 passing yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Pat Bryant was the leading receiver just with 1 catch, 40 yards. Where do we start? You're going to take some water because you want me to start.
I might just continue drinking.
Oh, man. It was tough out there. It was tough to watch that. And I've been a part of offenses at a couple different teams where you're letting the defense down so bad that you're questioning yourself and you don't actually have the belief when you go out there. And this was the first game that I felt like I watched that it didn't look like sometimes the players believed in the play call when it was coming into the huddle. like that they could execute it, or why are we
like
calling
what told
this
you
again?
that though? Just out of curiosity.
Just body
language.
Body language.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I could read off of that. And then we were just doing the show, and I guess on the TV broadcast in the third quarter, Bo had yelled to Davis Webb that
we heard that.
Oh, you heard it?
Oh yeah.
Get the personnels in.
But there was an adjective in front of it.
Yeah.
describing the personnel.
You don't talk like that on the sideline, do you?
I try not to. I think occasionally in 33 years, I've probably had
Done
a
it
few
one or two times?
adjectives. I mean, that's a word that can be used in a lot of different ways. But no, I heard that. I think there was frustration, no question about that. And everybody wants to know, okay, how do they get the offense going? There is no easy answer. To me, there's no one or two things you can do. I went back and looked at it this morning, and so a couple things pop into my mind. And rest assured, Broncos coaches and Sean Payton, they don't need my advice. They're out there. They probably went directly from the game, and went to the facility and started looking at that tape. So this was the first game that, going back and looking at it, that I felt like Bo was a little unsettled in the pocket and just almost from the start through the game remained unsettled. Mm-hmm. Now, we've seen him in stretches. Somebody watching this would say, well, he was unsettled in stretches. That's going to happen. But there were two or three plays in this game where there are people running open and he doesn't see them. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, that would be something we'd want to go back, and I think you go back to the basics of your offense. You go back working on his footwork from under center, his footwork in the shotgun. If I'm nitpicking a little bit here, I would say at times he's almost casual in his drop, which, I mean, you want to be comfortable, mm-hmm. but I don't want you to be casual. I want you to get back and get your feet set underneath you. But I'd go back and just try to really do a deep dive into this offense and try to find ways to get him settled down, which to me would mean less than more. They have a lot of stuff in this offense. I mean, you played in this offense. Yep. And there are times where, and this is conjecture on my part, but there are times where it feels like you can almost see his wheels turning in his head. And if you have too much of that, you have paralysis by analysis.
For sure.
It's hard to play.
Yeah, it is hard to play like that. And I think the Broncos haven't had a break to actually take and digest everything that they're doing well, and you can actually watch these clips. Usually, week after week, you have to move on to the next game. You went from Philly to London, came back here, played another game, played Dallas. Then you have the short week, and you're playing the Raiders on Thursday night. You haven't had a chance to really take a step back and just see everything and understand everything. All right, we got Jake Plummer joining the Broncos X's and O's show. Jake the Snake, man, what did you think of the win yesterday? I know it was an ugly win, but it was a win, and wins are supposed to be ugly. What did you actually really think about the win this time?
Hey, it's the Raiders. They got a dub this late in the season. Ugly or not, it's a W. So win, and a win is a win once again, and a lot of things to clean up. Most importantly, it's like, let's get an identity on offense, because I'm really wondering, like, what is it they're doing? What is it they can hang their hat on that they do well and they can go to in times of need and make it happen? And so those questions are easily answered when you got a guy like Sean Payton, as good an offensive guru as he is, and with Bo and what he's working through with his pocket presence and looking a little unsettled in there. Like, these are things you can work on and practice and get better at. And sometimes it's simplifying things.
Yeah, I completely agree, Jake. I think you would be much better served to sort of talk about this than two former wide receivers. But I think when you talk about the quarterback position, when the offense is struggling And when, as you said, he looks a little unsettled, do you just go back to sort of working on the basics? And I'm asking that in terms of like footwork from time to time in the pocket. How much does an NFL quarterback during this season actually commit with intention to working on his footwork?
I mean, the footwork's constant. When the defense is going or special teams is going, the quarterback's usually over there working on his feet, working on his drop. You know, I was always constantly working on 5-step big, 5-step quick, 3 big, 2 quick, 4 big, 3 quick, 3 big, 3 quick, all according to what route was being called. But that was when we were running a lot more under center. We were a lot more rhythmic passing, running that West Coast. This is different nowadays. You know, a lot of times the quarterback's in shotgun and Bo is not really taking a drop. He's just kind of shuffling and bouncing. And so finding timing and finding rhythm can be difficult when, you know, for instance, the throw to Ingram that he threw low and it was away. That, to me, that's not Bo's fault. To me, that's an offensive scheme faulty, because they're running these like tight ends out to act like they're going to block and maybe throw the wide to the running back. And then now, you know, as a receiver, what do I like? I like to know when you're going to plant your foot and you're going to break out.
Yeah.
Because then I can time that. I can go, all right, Dave's going here, Benny's going here. I got you. Boom. I'm throwing it early. I'm anticipating the DB's inside. I know I got it. Here's Ingram just drifting away, almost looking really non-athletic. And as a quarterback, you don't want to throw that ball up there when you see the DB just almost baiting you. So some of these things are just scheme-wise. And we've seen moments where they've allowed Bo to just take a 5-step from the gun or a 7-step from under center and throw a deep comeback to Franklin or to Cortland Sutton. And
Yep.
I'd like to see that. Like, I'd like to see downhill run, play action, boot him out left and right, and then run some balanced routes. And, like, let's get an identity and start really establishing something we know we can hang our hat on. Because when it's 3rd and 1 in the third quarter and you're throwing the ball 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to a wide receiver, asking him to now maybe throw it, if that's the case on that one play call, flip the script here. If they're 2-8, you're getting fired if you're an OC for calling that. Let's be honest. You're gonna pack your bags today and go, God damn it, I shouldn't have called that play. It worked great in practice. Why are we calling that? It's 3rd and 1. You're in 4-down territory. You got a running back that is hungry and proving to us that he can get you tough yards. And J.K. Dobbins, I mean, that to me was just like, whoa, I don't think they know who they are on offense. And you got a young kid that can do everything you ask of him. Let's start whittling it down and let's put him in position, as Coobs did with me, to do the things that I know I can do well. Let's let Bo do that and then ask a little bit of him each week to keep pushing to do some new things, or maybe push it to do something he's not very comfortable with, but let him grow into it instead of forcing it on him with all these crazy sets and, you know, like I said, really not establishing anything that we know we can count on.
Hey, Jake, last question, man. Does Bo and Sean, do they need to have a heart-to-heart? Do they need to have a one-on-one conversation? And how did you approach something like that? If you didn't like something as a young player, did you go to your offense coordinator or head coach and say, hey, can this be changed?
The best part about my years here in Denver was that I had Gary Kubiak as the offensive coordinator. And so Mike was a mad scientist, genius. You know, he'd come up with crazy, wacky plans, and Coobs would whittle those down. And I'd be like, man, I'm stressing Coob about this. And Coobs would be like, it ain't getting called. Don't worry about it. I'm like, how? Okay. And Coobs would handle it. He would like make sure that it wasn't called. And so having somebody to buffer that, because you're talking head coach, you're talking quarterback, you're talking two of the most important people in the entire organization. The owners are obviously very important. The GMs and all that do their thing, but you're talking the quarterback, who's probably even more important than the head coach. Yes, it's important they're on the same page. I know that Bo's a very smart player. He knows what he needs to work on. His feet were not set a lot last night. There were times he came off of number one too soon, and then he started shuffling. And the thing I worry about, and I talk about this because I watched Colin Kaepernick do this years ago when he took the world by storm and was slinging it and running, and then he started drifting back and bailing right. And he'd drift back and he would bail right. And now defenses are blitzing from the left, get Bo to bail right. Maybe he makes a play or two, but if not, you're getting him out of his comfort zone. And I'm watching Bo do this 4 or 5 times yesterday, 5, 6 times the week before. Yes, he did have the big run, that was set up by that. But if you start making that a habit instead of working up into those tight confines of the pocket that Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and all the greats made a living in, then that's where you start to go, okay, Bo, it's just part of the evolution of a young quarterback. You have to be able to stay in the pocket, go from one, and sometimes one is going to be a badass, tight, small window throw that you got to make. Make it. We've seen him make some amazing throws. So Bo's just got to get that confidence back. I'm not worried. They're sitting atop the AFC West, 8-2. The only thing I worry about is leaning on that defense too much because they are balling. Oh my goodness, that defense! Those dudes, man, they are fun group to watch play, and I would hate to play against that defense. I would love it actually because I love playing against the best ones, but it would be hard. It would be hard, and I just don't want to lean on them too much, because our special teams has been a little bit like this. And I'd like to see offense, come out and get established on something we know we can go to. And that's forming your identity. This late in the season, you should already have it. Hopefully they go back to the drawing board here with this little extended bye before the Chiefs come to town because they're going to exploit everything we're not doing right. The Chiefs are going to make you look really foolish if you don't seal those up and get them fixed.
100%. Jake, man, really appreciate you joining the show. Thanks, my man.
Right on, guys. Great to see you. Peace.
See you later. At Bet365, they have great offers available for Broncos fans. They have their Thursday night football offer, which is a $10 safety net bet. They have their Sunday night football offer, which is a $365,000 jackpot. Place a $10 bet on the first time touchdown score and get a split of $365,000 in bonus bets if your player scores the final touchdown of the game. Also, with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Breaking news, Bet365 new customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, you must be 21 years or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. Shout out to the Gold Crown Foundation. Are you a parent of a 4th through 8th grade kid, or are you someone listening who wants to play in a great competitive basketball league here in Colorado? Sign up for the Gold Crown Basketball League today. The Gold Crown Foundation was started by Bill Hanslick many years ago, and it still continues to be a staple of our community. They have divisions for our 4th through 8th grade teams. They have feeder teams for high school and gold, silver, and bronze divisions. You can play in both high school gyms and at the Gold Crown Fieldhouse. Gold Crown also has leagues in volleyball, golf, flag football. It's a nonprofit organization that serves 18,000 plus kids annually in the Denver metro area. It is also a great way for kids to have fun playing sports while also playing in a competitive environment that is going to help them if they want to keep playing sports in high school and potentially beyond. Learn more and sign up by scanning the QR code on the screen or visiting goldcrownfoundation.com. You watched the All-22 this morning, and so did I.
So I'm looking at your computer.
Yeah, and
because when you and I didn't talk before the show.
This is the first alarming play.
That's the play. That's the one I saw too.
Yeah, the dagger. So for everybody out here who can't see the computer screen, but Troy Franklin is coming in motion in a cheat motion, and you got Pat Bryant in the slot. Pat Bryant is getting ready to run a clear route, a through route to take the safety out of here.
Yep.
And Troy Franklin is going to come screaming across the middle on an 18 to 22-yard in cut.
Yeah, the Raiders on this play are playing Tampa 2. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the Mike linebacker, he gets sucked up in a big way on the play fake, then realizes, turns and sprints back. But he is not in a position to take away Franklin on what I would call, we used to call it the deep dig, the double D. And that when I saw that this morning, I'm thinking that's one of the plays that I came to the conclusion, okay, he's just not seeing, either he's processing so much and he's not sure as to, hey, on this particular play against this coverage, I'm looking, where am I looking? Or he's just not seeing things in the pocket.
Yeah, and I think, I'm going to go back to my golf analogy because I'm continuing to try to be a better golfer. But my coach always says, what did the ball tell you? Don't tell me how you felt. What did the ball tell you? And right now when we're watching this film, the film is telling us and the routes are telling us that this is open. What is it telling us about Bo? It's that he is not seeing the field well, and this play is really well protected. So
yes,
there's no one around his feet.
No,
and that was what's super alarming is that we're watching Troy Franklin right now coming open in
ball
on this end
right
cup.
there.
Yeah, the ball should have been gone, and he's checking the ball down, and there's still no one around his feet.
I thought the protection last night was pretty good.
Yeah,
I thought the offensive line actually played pretty doggone well in terms of pass protection and for that matter, run blocking too.
100%. Right now we're looking at this play. Sean inside in the red zone, I thought Sean has still been an elite play caller. And by the way, a lot of people are still calling for Sean to give up play calling duties. Dave and I have both watched the film. It's not the plays. There are people open. There are opportunities throughout the entire game. Either Bo has missed a throw or the receiver has dropped the ball, or sometimes there has been a little lapse in coverage. But I thought there were too many drops. The Broncos are second in the league right now in drops.
Yeah. Well, you and I have talked about that, and I think I mentioned last week on this show, that would be one of the things, that you go back and you can't have an overhaul of your offense in the middle of the season. Right. There's not enough time. But you can tinker with things, and you can identify 3, 4, 5 things that we are absolutely going to work on, we're going to stress, and we're going to get better at, and we're going to get better at it before we play in our next game. For me, as a ex-wide receiver, you played the same position. The ball has been on the ground too much. And I also want to know, fellas, I'm not saying that I never did it, because I'm sure I did, but if you have a route called, run the route. Don't pull up on the route 18 yards down the field because you don't think you're getting the ball. Now it's easy for me to sit here and say that. That's a hard thing to do when you're running, your ass down the field 40 yards and you got to jog back and then you're going to run 20. I mean, it's hard to do.
Yep.
But there have been times, and I think too many times, where receivers have not thought they're getting the ball. And then all of a sudden, here comes the ball, and they've given up on a route.
Dave, you bring up a really good point, and I just kind of want to take this conversation somewhere else. Just go back to the start of your career and the quarterbacks that you play with. Like, who taught you how to play the game? And the reason why I ask you that question is because of what I understand from an offensive perspective now is because of the first 2 years I had playing with Peyton.
Yeah.
And the timing, the understanding, your process, your clock as a receiver. Sometimes Peyton would be out there and he would do this with his hands, meaning he wanted you to speed something up based off of a blitz, or understanding the coverage, or understanding how to run a route based off of the leverage of the defender. Right now, I feel like sometimes either these guys won't finish the route, or they are running the route like it's on paper and not running it with the feel of the game. But I also know that these guys are young, so the quarterback is not pointing it out because he has his own job to do. I didn't have to worry about much because Peyton knew everything. So I could really learn and then go out there and play the game. How did you learn how to play the receiver position?
I would say one thing back to the point I made about the receivers not running their routes, sort of stopping on their routes. That's a two-way street, and I acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you are not getting the ball and you're asked to run a clear out, or you're asked to run a deep skinny, or a deep route, and you've run 3 or 4 or 5 of those, it's like, okay, you're never throwing me the ball.
Yeah.
So it works hand in hand with that. But to your question specifically, I mean, my first 2 years in the league, my receiver coach was a Hall of Fame wide receiver, Raymond Berry, played with the Colts, played with Johnny Unitas, became the head coach of the Patriots. And so I learned from him just the nuances of playing that position, and how he stressed to me that receivers can look different, and you can still accomplish a lot and play in the league. I was a 6'5" and 230-pound wide receiver. Well, I was going to look different running routes than Paul Warfield. Paul was in the last 2 years of his career, also a Hall of Fame receiver. And I remember, and I've told this story before, we had training camp. I'm not even sure why, but we went to Stillwater, Oklahoma to have a week's worth of training camp playing some team. And we get in line running one-on-ones, and Paul jumps up in front of the line, and I watch him run a route, and I'm thinking, I'm never going to play in this league. I cannot. I mean, he was I've never seen, to this day, I've seen a lot of NFL football. I've never seen a guy run routes like that. He literally, and I mean literally, looked like a gazelle. He would bounce, he would hop and bounce off a cut and bounce, and I'm thinking, man, hey, what am I going to do? So those two guys were great with me as a young receiver. And then I played for a quarterback who was the MVP of the league, and Brian Sipe. And the one thing Brian taught me, be where you're supposed to be accountable for that, and if I throw you the ball, catch it. It's real simple. And so there were less passes back in the late 70s and early 80s, right? But I know this. When your quarterback is like that and you're going to run a deep dig and the ball's coming to you, you, figuratively speaking, you would sell your soul to go get that ball. Yeah. And that's the mindset that I think you have to really be a great receiver in the league.
Yeah, and I 1,000% agree. And I think this young core is still learning. They're learning on the job, and then so is the quarterback is learning on the job. And like the way I was learning on the job is that the plays were kind of taken care of. Hey, man, when I tell you to be at 10 to 12 yards, be at 10 to 12 yards. You didn't have to think about the hots and the protections. And right now I think, you can still see these guys learning on the job. But I thought, Bo, you could still see it, though.
You could have gone to Ingram here, too. Yeah. I thought Ingram ran a
really nice corner route.
Yep.
But, I love the fact that, the way that where he put the ball to Troy Franklin on the touchdown, I thought was really good. And I think, there still are some flashes. People want to get rid of Bo right now. And it's like, hey,
that's silly.
Just relax a little bit. What are your thoughts on Pat Bryant? He continues to make plays. I thought this was a terrible offensive pass interference call.
I said it on the broadcast. You don't see it because I'm watching the ball. Right, so when he makes the catch, turns upfield, hey, first down, and they were sorely in need of a first down. Then you get the OPI. Then you go back and look at it, and when you see it, you're like, "What?
You really called that?"
So I think officials, even NFL officials, college officials, high school officials at times, I think they anticipate something that they're about to see, and then they don't always see that, but they've anticipated that. So Pat Bryant, receivers, when normally when you're running a route and then you put your hand up like this, then a lot of times you're going to get called for the OPI because the defensive back is going to accentuate where your hand is. But to me, and the way I was taught in the league, the push off either is with what we call the flipper or the front part, the palm of your hand, where you push off and you have enough strength that you can push off the lower body. That's really tough to detect, and it also will cause that defensive back who's running full speed just to kind of misstep a little bit. Yeah. So I didn't see the palm of Pat Bryant's hand come up, so I didn't agree with that call.
I thought it was a terrible call. But I continue to see he continues to make big catches. He had one catch yesterday, so he's had 10 catches on the season, 9 of them for first downs.
This is another one I picked out too.
Yeah.
Just let me tell you, the corner route's wide open, right?
You know what I love about this, though? I think that they found something, maybe it's just me, but the arc release motion. So for those who are out there who are watching this, the arc release motion is the guy inside the bunch. You got a bunch formation. The guy inside the bunch, he arc releases, but it confuses defenders because they don't know how to pick this off and talk through it. So Pat Bryant does this arc release quick out, and it ends up bringing Troy Franklin completely wide open. What did you think about the play? Because I thought Bo could have retreated to the right a little bit and bought himself a little bit more time.
I completely agree. Yeah. I thought the protection, I thought he got a little impatient with this. Now, keep in mind, he's receiving this snap on his 1 yard line. He's now 3 yards in the end zone. But if you can just slide to the right a little bit and look at, because both the corner and the flat defender jump is that Bryant?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bryant.
and then Troy Franklin comes wide open on the 7 route.
Yeah.
So this will be one that I think you go back and you show Bo. Again, you got to understand, we're sitting in the stand. I'm sitting calling the game. Other people are at home having popcorn and whatever else you drink. I mean, Bo Nix is standing right now in the end zone with the Raiders bearing down. What you don't want to do is take a sack in that situation. But I thought there was a play downfield to be had.
Yep, definitely a play downfield. This is one that I pointed out, and everybody will see this because I have still pictures of these to go on the pod. But this is the interception from Bo, and this is the one that goes off of Troy Franklin's hands, and I don't believe it's Bo's fault. I believe there's poor spacing by the receivers out here. So you have Evan on a clear route, running a through route. You got Pat Bryant on a basic, and you have Troy Franklin on the basic, and you got Pat Bryant on the outside running a short in, and he's running a short in route. Pat Bryant has nobody pressing him. You have to take your time because Troy Franklin is getting rerouted, and these guys end up stacked in front of each other, and I don't think there's any spacing for Bo to really understand. This is not a clear picture, and I think right now they're both on the same plane. And I think this is what confused Bo right here. I still think it's a muddy throw.
Let it go one pass.
Pat's right in front of Troy.
Yeah.
And that's not how the play is designed. And these are little things right here that, you'd have to see or understand what we understand about plays and concepts that I believe you tell a young Pat Bryant, hey, you're the third in the progression. This is a delayed under. This is not, you don't run this under as if you're the only person out here. So these are things that I think, young players have to understand concepts. They have to be able to understand concepts and in real time, but there's no substitute for experience. So I also think as a receiver coach, how I would point this out is like, hey, Pat, you got to take your time here. You have to give Bo a clear picture right here because Pat puts his hands up thinking the ball's coming to him. He's like, no way that's coming to me. And then Troy's not ready to catch the ball.
Yeah, I couldn't tell from the booth really as to who he was throwing the ball to.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you make a good point. We've talked about this as well. When you think of this edition of the Broncos and you think of specifically on offense, guys that are asked to make plays outside, the quarterback's in his second year, Troy Franklin's in his second year, Pat Bryant's a rookie, Marvin Mims, who didn't even play, is in his third season. They've got some youth at key positions. Mm-hmm. And so just like you pointed out, there will be times where they will make youthful mistakes. I think, again, acknowledging that, the key will be, what does Sean do it just sort of is what it is. You can come up with a narrative that says that you don't want to really entertain some of the questions and we're 8-2 and whatever the record says, that's what we are. I get that, and I think there's positives, a lot of positives to this year's team. But you're in a position right now where, you've got 7 games left. You're 8-2. There's no guarantee that next year at this time you're going to be 8-2.
Right.
So how do you best maximize this edition of your offense based on what you have? To me, I'd go back again. I'd get very basic with Bo. I'd get very basic on footwork. I'd get basic on creating some easy opportunities for him, slants, right, hitches, get the ball out of his hands. But he looked last night for the first time, almost for an entire game, that he was trying to process stuff. And it is hard to play any position at this level of football if you're thinking too much because it slows down everything else you do.
100%. I don't. You don't have to say anything about this, but I thought midway through the game, I thought he was injured. I thought Bo was injured. Just the way he was throwing the ball, he did not. I thought something was wrong with his oblique or at the back of his shoulder or something because of the way the ball was dying on the sideline, which shouldn't be a problem for a young quarterback. So I don't know if he might be injured.
I don't. On that one, I don't know.
In this 2nd and 18 play, I forgot what play this was.
This is the
scramble.
This is the long play.
Yeah, this is the long play to Pat Bryant. And once again, I think when Bo attacks the line of scrimmage, I just think he's so dangerous. But this young kid, I think, for him, his catch and running ability and the way he catches the low ball, I just think they're going to continue to find ways to make him.
He's dependable.
Yeah, very dependable.
I mean, that's one of the key attributes for an NFL wide receiver.
Yeah.
Are you dependable?
Yeah. So that's the offense. I think there are a lot of things that are fixable. We haven't touched on this, though. The Broncos are the most penalized team in the NFL. And I think that's a real problem. We also haven't talked about field position. So a lot of people are going to just talk about and think about, what they can actually comprehend and understand. But starting backed up, you had 2 drives in the first half where you started inside your own 5.
Yep.
It's hard to go 99 yards and score. So I think that's tough. Also the penalties, the holdings, the false starts. We've talked about this constantly throughout this year. The theme every game when the offense continues to struggle is they dig themselves in holes. It's hard 1st and 20, 2nd and 17, 3rd and 13. There aren't a lot of great play calls for that.
No, I think that, and we've talked about this too. I think for this year's, for a lot of NFL offenses, but we're talking about the Broncos, the margin of error for them is really thin.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means, just as you said, it is almost impossible to overcome those situations. Some of those are self-inflicted, the false starts. Troutman had a holding call. He was blocking power, and the Raiders had an insert that was a little bit, I think, more snug than they anticipated. Coming off when the first series they had, they started in their 1 or 2, I should say. In the first run, Dobbins bangs it in there, gets like 6. Well, they come up with a 3rd down and about 1.5 yards, and they bring their big people in. They condense the formation, and so the Raiders condense the defense. I think to me the thing that they could lean on is that running game. Now, how are you most efficient in the running game? Is it bigger people, more tight ends? They were in 13 personnel, I think, a couple of times. Or do you spread people out, which theoretically takes people out of the box, and then you have more opportunities to gash people in the running game? Those are things that I'm sure are going to be answered in the next 10 days.
So to have more of a running game or to do more in the running game, should they get to top 5 in attempts? Because right now the Broncos are actually top 10 in attempts in terms of running, and then they have a top rusher. Do you think the next step is, hey, we're committing to 30 times a game running the ball, 25 times a game running the ball?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying maybe the percentage, before we talked about this last week, I think before the Houston game, the Broncos in first half play had the highest passing percentage of any team of the 32 teams. They threw the ball 64% of the time in the first half.
We'd love that.
You and I
would love that.
Now at halftime, it balanced, and they came back in the second half. They were about 50-50. So, it's kind of football 101, and we're talking about NFL football, which is beyond football 101, and I acknowledge that. But when you're struggling, when there's things to fix, when there's young receivers and young quarterback, and learning all this, you can always fall back and get him settled a little bit easier if you're able to run it. And I think that has to be, not that they don't run. They got the ball up, 3 with 4.5 minutes to go. Yeah. The Raiders knew they were going to run. The Broncos knew the Raiders knew, and they ran the ball and they killed the clock.
Yeah.
So they have that ability. I think Dobbins, is an underrated back. I don't think people fully appreciate how good a player this dude is. He makes something out of nothing more than any back.
He had one of the best 1-yard runs yesterday.
Is that the one he spun?
Yeah, and he just got back to the line of scrimmage, but I was just like, how'd he do it?
Yes. Yes, and that's underappreciated, right? You say, well, no gain in the play. Yeah, but it was going to be -4.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, Broncos got to figure it out. Special teams was really weird yesterday. The 2 punts, but then you blocked a punt, and then the field goal. I'm assuming the field goal came up that short because of the wind, or I don't know if it got tipped.
I didn't see it tipped. I mean, it was a 59-yard field goal that, I mean, Lutz has been a terrific kicker.
Yeah.
But that thing
Wasn't close.
No, that thing hit about 7 yards deep in the end zone. It was probably 10 yards short, so I have to think it was the wind. And Sean, I think rightfully so after the game, said probably shouldn't have called that.
Yeah.
But I think with Jeremy Crawshaw, I know Broncos fans are like, what in the hell are we doing here? But he's had a really good rookie season punting the ball. He had a 76-yard punt last week in Houston. And I think the wind affected him maybe more so than anybody.
It's hard to play in the wind. I know people think that it's easy. You called this game in 2016 or maybe it was 2015, but we played Pittsburgh in the divisional at home, and the wind was crazy that day. I think we dropped 10 passes in the first half. We ended up winning that game.
Yeah.
But, the wind it's hard to deal with as a receiver and clearly as a punter.
Yeah, it does require. I mean, as a receiver, it does require a lot more concentration. I mean, you should be able to see sort of the tip of the ball as the thing is coming to you if you're really locked in. Now, if the ball's doing this, and there are some guys that even without wind throw a ball like that, and it's more difficult to catch than guys that can really spin it. But the one punt where Crawshaw was punting north, and I think it was like a 30-yard punt, and then you go back and look at he shanked it left. You go back and look at the punt when he dropped the ball. His foot, you're supposed to hit it with the top of your foot. It was the side of his ankle that actually hit the ball. So the wind had to affect even the distance from the dropping from the hand to the foot.
They got to clean that up.
I don't worry too much about him.
No,
I don't.
Him, but I think special teams overall, I think it's going to be good to get Marvin Mims back. All right, we got a special guest, the offensive coordinator of the best offense in NFL history and the best Broncos offense in NFL history. Adam Gase joins Broncos X's and O's. My man Goose, it's good to see you.
What's going on, Benny?
Man, I just want the listeners to know the fact that you are a Michigan State grad and that under Nick Saban and Mark D'Antonio, it was you, Brian Daboll, and who else was there as graduate
Josh McDaniels, Mel Tucker.
I mean, it's got to be the best graduate assistant program ever. Everybody went on to be head coaches.
Coach Saban found some guys, man. Like, I got to LSU. Freddie Kitchens was there. I mean, we were both in the same room. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy, man. Well, we're going to talk about Kansas City, man. Broncos are sitting at top of the AFC, 2.5 game lead to AFC West. Kansas City's coming in town, man. They're desperate. How do you attack a Spagnuolo defense? What does it look like to attack a defense? Because he does a lot of blitz, zero. I know when you were a coordinator, one of the things that I now know about blitz zero beaters because of we used to run alley to X to DT. How do you beat a Spagnuolo defense from an offensive perspective?
Yeah, he's really tough to go against. Obviously, I mean, he has been really good the last, what's he been there? Almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
Like 7 or 8 years. Yeah. I mean, he's been there for a minute. What makes him so hard is the amount that he does and the variations he gives. You'll see a lot of the same, technically, the coverages they run. It's just done a million different ways. If they play to Tampa, you're not going to get the conventional Mike down the middle. You might get the safety dropping down, the nickel going back to play half field, things like that. They just make every coverage they disguise, and it just becomes very difficult, once the ball's snapped because it's going to change.
Yeah, 100%. And then they got players like Chris Jones. How do you neutralize somebody like that? Somebody who's been playing at an all-pro level, somebody who is a game wrecker. Obviously, the Broncos offense will be highly aware of where he's at all times, and sometimes he moves to the outside. How do you neutralize a guy like that?
What you just said makes it really hard is he moves around a lot. He could be anywhere. Sometimes on first and second down, you might be able to get a little bit of a beat where he's at. You want to try to get 4 hands on him as much as possible, which that doesn't even work sometimes. I mean, obviously he's been a dominant player for a long time now. And now that they're a little bit deeper, they're able to keep him fresh throughout the year. If they're averaging 65 plays on defense a week, and he's playing 40 or 50, and you're giving him some plays off, that keeps him fresh throughout, a long season, 17 games plus the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he is a problem. He is really tough to stop. Even when you do get, double teams as much as possible in pass protection, he still finds ways to get to the quarterback.
Speak about Trent McDuffie, man. He's been a top corner for a long time, or I would say a long time, but the last few years he's been a top corner, plays a lot of man, plays a lot of press coverage. How do you think about attacking a number one corner? Did you ever shy away? I don't think it's in your personality to shy away from a number one corner. I think you always try to find the best matchups, and you would never shy away from that. But how do you attack a guy like that who plays a lot of press man?
There was a few guys that we were always careful with, just making sure we didn't make it too obvious if we were trying to go at them, just here and there, just to keep them honest.
What guys were those?
Like, I personally always struggle against Richard Sherman as a coordinator because I always felt like he was breaking before the receiver sometimes. And this is more after I left Denver, because I had 3 years in a row where we were their opening day in Seattle. Yeah. In 14 in Denver, 15 in Chicago, and then 16 when I was in Miami. We were their opener. And so, I saw him way too many times after the Super Bowl. It was like, this guy, I just can't get away from him. He was one of those guys that he was so smart, and he understood splits, and he understood kind of angles, and he's a receiver, so he understood the releases. He just was always ahead of you, and he was always kind of a scary guy for me to game plan against. Anytime you played Revis, that was self-explanatory. You knew exactly what you were getting, and you might avoid him as much as possible if you could. And then sometimes it's all based on the defense, what they call coverage wise. You get a cloud, quarters, cover three, man. There's some times where you just don't have a choice.
Yeah. And then going back to Trent McDuffie, how do you attack a guy like that?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Just the way that he covers guys at the top of routes is really impressive. He's a tough guy to get double moves on. A lot of times those are when you go against these upper tier corners, they have a tendency to be a little more aggressive, and you get a chance to maybe hit, a stutter go or a sluggo or something like that. But he does such a good job of transitioning out. He's still aggressive on the breaks, but if you double move him, he'll recover quick. And I like the fact that he can play inside and outside.
Yeah.
When he has to play a lot of man coverage, and he does a really good job, especially when he plays nickel. Some of those deep crossing routes, he wires those up pretty good. He'll undercut them. He'll stay on top of you sometimes. Like, he just changes up. He does such a good job of keeping his leverage. Like, when he's playing inside, he knows where his help is, and he does a really good job of making sure if he's got outside leverage, he doesn't lose it, and you're trying to break out, he just is sitting right there waiting for you.
Now shifting to the offensive side from Kansas City, obviously Patrick Mahomes is special. What makes Andy Reid and his relationship with Patrick special in terms of the way that he plays? Obviously, he extends a lot of plays, but just you've been around, obviously, some of the best to ever do it. You called plays at a very high level, and you orchestrated the highest scoring offense ever. So what do you see out of Patrick just as a player?
He's such a tough player to go against. The fact that his arm strength's ridiculous, the fact that he can throw from any platform, rolling right, rolling left, in the pocket, making those subtle moves where he changes his arm angle. And then outside of that, just taking off and running. There's so many coverages you have to be careful of. And if you don't have somebody just taking a peek at him and knowing where he's at, and all of a sudden you look up and he's running for 15, 20 yards and, creating, flipping the field, he just causes so many problems. And, especially when he was younger, it just felt like when he had Tyreek, that was a real big issue, because once that ball launched down the field, nobody was catching that guy at that time.
100%. What about Big Red? What do you love about his scheme? I played a little bit for Nagy in Chicago and got a chance to see inside of that scheme. And it's a lot of simple concepts, a lot of motion, though. And they try to motion. They love a lot of 3-by-1, especially with Kelsey just moving him to the outside. What do you love about, like, Big Red's scheme?
Well, one, he's creative. And he's always been, like, even when he was in Philly, it's just kind of he's kept that going, and he's always done a good job of moving his pieces around. And whoever he's always had, he finds the best way to use them to their strengths and avoid using their weakness part of the game. And he just really focuses on, hey, if this is a deep threat guy, here's the routes we're going to do with them, and here's our change ups. And he does a really good job with all those different pieces that he has, and using those guys to the strengths of what they do as route runners, or ball carriers, and what formations to use them out of to really expose the defense and, give multiple open options for the quarterback.
And if you had to say one thing that the Broncos need to do to win this game, what would it be?
Really the biggest thing is it's probably going to come down to third down and red zone. I mean, it's going to be who does the best job in turnovers. I mean, that's what it always comes down to, especially, against Kansas City. If you can get some turnovers, that's going to give you a good chance to have a shorter field, possibly prevent a red zone touchdown or a field goal. The turnovers are huge. Third down, if you can stay on the field and really chew up that clock and the offense stays on the field, that's problematic for them, give them less possessions. And when you get in the red zone, it's, for Denver, it's, hey, how many times can we get in the end zone without kicking field goals or at least scoring points? And when they get in the red zone, you just got to try to hold them to 3.
My man, Adam Gase, really appreciate you joining the show. You are the man.
No problem, buddy.
How does this team right here, right now, Kansas City's coming in town next week, how do they beat them? What's the key to beating Kansas City?
Yeah, I would say this. I think from an offensive standpoint, to me, you look in the game after the first quarter, the Raiders had the ball 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and the Broncos had it 2:30. That sort of thing cannot be duplicated, because Patrick Mahomes, the more times you put him on the field with that offense, as great as your defense is, you're rolling the dice. Yep. So to me, you got to be able to run the ball. You've got to have a more maybe it gets down to a little more regimented passing attack, and by that I mean in some NFL concepts, quarterback will go back based on a pre-snap and a post-snap read. And if you get a certain look, then my progression is 1, 2, 3, check down. And with a guy like Peyton, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, check down. Mm-hmm. All right. Maybe in a game against the Chiefs, maybe from a schematic standpoint, you've got to come up with 10 things that you like. That for Bo, everything is off the run game, play action, pass game, and he knows exactly where to go with the ball. And I'm not suggesting, if he happens to be completely bored out of his mind and he's watching this podcast, I'm not suggesting that, you don't do things that the other excellent quarterbacks do. I'm just trying to find, when you're playing like this, everybody has to put their ego at the door, and you have to say, hey, listen, whatever we need to do to get this thing back on track, that's exactly what we're going to do. And that, not only am I talking about players, I'm talking about coaches too.
We all silly like the mayor.